Thank you, Chair and Councillors. Today I'm going to present to you the Oceanway Completion Strategy. The Oceanway is part of a broader vision to have our entire coastline and broadwater connected via a high-quality, active travel facility. It is about creating an iconic, uninterrupted coastal walking and cycling pathway that can take people all the way from Paradise Point down along the Broadwater, then along the coastline all the way from Southport Seaway to the Coolangatta border. Completing the Oceanway is important because it improves connectivity, encourages people off the road, improves people's fitness and well-being, and creates a valuable intergenerational asset and tourism icon. With respect to our coastal lifestyle strategy, connectivity is a big theme, but so too is coastal resilience. This is an important point we must consider because we don't want this enhanced connectivity of the Oceanway coming at the expense of coastal resilience. Usage data collected recently highlights the Oceanway's value. The recently completed Surfers Paradise South section has almost 10,000 users per day. As the middle column we see here highlights higher levels of pedestrian use compared to cyclists overall, we do see that there are higher percentages of cyclists in the northern sections. Usage demand has increased with population growth, but we also see a benefit to overall use when we fill in a missing section. It is estimated that between 50 and 60,000 people a day utilise the Oceanway every day. This level of use underscores the importance of this asset and why the city needs a strategy to complete the Oceanway from one end of the coast to the other, regardless of the challenges we need to overcome to finish it. On the screen now is a selection of technical engineering studies that have gone into identifying solutions to deliver the remaining sections. Finishing the Oceanway is not a simple task. The majority of remaining sections where the Oceanway will go are in considerably more constrained locations, and the challenges are mainly due to the risk associated with coastal erosion. In addition to the studies pertaining to the Oceanway, we have a deep understanding of the coastal hazard risks throughout the city through our ongoing monitoring and partnerships with our academic institutions and our leading coastal engineering firms. Many of the remaining sections are in erosion-prone or spatially constrained locations, which presents challenges for the traditional slab-on-ground construction method. Essentially, if you build a footpath on the ground that is not protected by a seawall, it is and should be considered a sacrificial asset. This image of Hollandale Park just a few weeks ago is what happens when an asset is built east of the seawall or on top of the seawall. We have approximately 4.7 kilometres, or about 22% of the Oceanway, that has been built in this manner. Here is an image of the latest completed Surfers South section, the majority of which has been built in a sacrificial manner, meaning it has been built as a slab-on-ground pathway, which if coastal erosion occurs, sections of this Oceanway will be lost, no different to the sections that we recently lost in Main Beach. The only thing that will reduce, but not eliminate, the risk of coastal erosion damage to this asset is a healthy dune system in front of it. The popularity of this asset means we have to have a backup plan for if and when that asset gets undermined. We need to think about delivering a non-sacrificial asset as its replacement. The most common question asked when posed the problem of the sacrificial parts of the Oceanway is, can't we just build a seawall in front of it to protect it? What this slide shows is the effect of moving the seawall towards the ocean. Moving the seawall towards the ocean, even by a small amount, prevents sand from being deposited in the wave zone during an erosion event. This creates a negative feedback loop to the point where even in calm conditions, the seawall will be forever exposed and beach widths significantly reduced. This is not the solution to improve the resilience of the Oceanway. This is essentially what we're dealing with right now, currently up at Main Beach. You'll see that there's lengths of the seawall that's exposed. And once that seawall gets exposed and we get another erosion bit, there's no more sand for it to be taken and deposited back. So it just gets worse and worse. That's that negative feedback loop. So if we go back a section here and we say, okay, let's just put a seawall in front of the pathway we've already built, you will fundamentally change the coastal dynamics of that section of beach to a point where you will basically always see a seawall. And that's not the beach experience we deliver here on the Gold Coast. The majority of pretty much all of our seawalls are buried. So you don't see them, you get that profile. And we need that distance back from the ocean, which is why that A-line is set where it is, to create that beach profile. So the answer to building an oceanway is not to build a seawall in front of it. The solution we are proposing in locations where the alignment puts the traditional slab on ground construction at risk is a non-sacrificial piled boardwalk structure. We have commissioned a coastal engineering firm to explore the viability of this option, and they have confirmed a range of possible options, or a range of options are possible. There is future work to be done on this, and each section of Oceanway will have a different alignment, different ground conditions, different private property interface characteristics that will need to be understood. In the areas where a piled boardwalk is required, we're seeking from Council an appropriate budget to advance the necessary planning and conceptual design work to reach a level of maturity where we can provide Council a full picture of the project costs and design options and construction methodologies before we recommend to a preferred option. If you take a look at the image that I have in the centre, we couldn't really find a better example, but essentially what we're looking at emulating is effectively a piled boardwalk structure that will look and feel like the existing Oceanway. It will just be built and buried under, all that pile and structure will be built and buried under the dunes. What we believe it will do is by having that structure within the dunal area, it's actually like having additional trees in the dune. It'll actually speed up the resilience of the dune underneath it to the point where we'll basically have a lot of the areas or the missing sections. The boardwalk will just be at grade. But what the difference is if this area experienced a significant erosion event, the dune goes away, but the boardwalk remains in place. We put the handrails on, people can continue to use it, continue to service it, and over time the dune builds back up to a point where it's back level again, in a year or 18 months' time. So this slide shows where the incomplete sections are. We're proposing to complete the Oceanway in a sequenced way, based on factors such as project readiness, coastal risk and deliverability. What is critical, however, is that we aim to deliver these missing sections in a non-sacrificial way. I'll go through these missing sections now from north to south. So, our first section that's currently missing, which is currently in phase 3 detailed design work, is a section called the Federation Walk, which is going to connect the Seaway right down to Phillip Park. This is a project that's already funded, and it's a partnership with the state government. This project was a key deliverable of the Spit Master Plan, and we should see this open in the next few years. On the screen now are some of the conceptual images of this project. One of the recent missing sections is Hollandale Park. This is a 300-metre section that recently failed due to the effects of Cyclone Alfred and subsequent swell events. It's important to note that we didn't actually lose this Oceanway during Cyclone Alfred. It was the subsequent swell events that caused the erosion to the point where we've lost the Oceanway here. So a funding allocation will be sought in the 25-26 financial year to design and construct a replacement path through Hollandale Park along a different alignment this time. This time it'll be behind the seawall and resilient to erosion. We will also be seeking disaster recovery funding to assist with these works. The final section, connecting Surfers Paradise to the north, is the main beach section. This section is exposed to considerable coastal hazard risk, therefore a traditional slab on ground will not work. This will need to be a piled boardwalk structure. On the screen now is a concept image of what that structure may look like. The Oceanway project in this area will coincide with the planning work that we're currently doing on the seawall completion strategy and also the Northern Beaches protection strategy. Moving south now to Mermaid Beach. The Mermaid Beach North section of Oceanway runs 800 metres from Pratton Park to Ocean Street. There is approximately 8 to 12 metres between the property boundary and the A-line, and thus a 5 metre wide concrete path can be built west of the existing seawall, which will ensure it remains resilient to coastal erosion. So we don't need to do a boardwalk through this section. This project will also include reconfiguration of Hedges Avenue and Albatross Avenue to incorporate enhanced active transport facilities within the road corridor and to renew all the associated road assets such as the pavement, curbing, ramps, driveways and possible undergrounding of electrical infrastructure to significantly enhance the safety and user experience for active travellers along these two avenues. The Mermaid Central and South sections are progressively more complicated. This is largely due to the alignment of the seawall relative to the property boundaries. As you can see by this image, by the time the Oceanway runs parallel with Albatross Avenue, the seawall is essentially on the property boundary, meaning that all of the dune area in front of it, in front of the properties, is exposed to coastal hazard risk. The reason why we have split the rest of the Mermaid Beach section into two is because the central section runs parallel to Hedges Avenue and the southern section runs parallel to Albatross Avenue. Now, there is significantly more width within the road corridor along Albatross Avenue, which will allow us to explore alternative options on the beach side. So because we've got all that extra road width along Albatross Avenue, we might balance out the additional cost of the boardwalk by reducing the width of the boardwalk and leaving it only to pedestrians and prams and wheelchairs, and all of the cyclists may stay on Albatross Road. But this is why we've got those options to explore as part of our planning going forward. A proposed boardwalk solution, as conceptualised on the slide, could be built around and integrated into the North Burleigh headland, providing a safer, more accessible route. The design would include opportunities for seating and shaded viewing platforms. Whilst completion of this section would be a wonderful addition, signifying the approximate halfway point of the coastline, we are not actually seeking any funding to progress this project, this part of the Oceanway at this stage. That's largely because as part of Light Rail Stage 3, we've got a shared facility that terminates at that starts at Thorn Park and basically goes around the tourist park along the highway, then back along Kelly and Hythe Avenues to the park there. So there will be a shared facility going around, albeit it's probably an extra 1.5 k's to walk around. Transport main roads will deliver an Oceanway over Tallabudger Creek, connecting Road Park in Burleigh Heads to Tallabudger Creek Park at Palm Beach, via a dedicated green bridge as part of a future stage of the light rail. The images on this slide can be viewed on the Light Rail Stage 4 website. The missing Oceanway through Palm Beach has 3 separate sections, each with their own unique set of challenges likely to require a different approach to solve. The Palm Beach North section, where the current Oceanway ends at 23rd Avenue, we believe we can install a boardwalk through the dunes down to 17th Avenue. This will allow a connection to Jefferson Lane, which will offer pedestrians an alternative to the Gold Coast Highway. The Palm Beach Central section, situated between 17th Avenue and 3rd Avenue, presents a highly complex design and construction scenario. Critically, the A-line is located within property boundaries and in some cases extending up to 15 metres inland, as shown on this slide. So the red line there you can see is the top of the seawall, and those property boundaries basically take up the entire duneal area. This effectively privatises the dune and leaves a narrow strip of usable beach. In order to deliver an Oceanway through this section, we would need to significantly improve the nominal beach widths through Palm Beach. To do so, we would need to deliver additional coastal management interventions through Palm Beach, such as additional artificial reefs or groins, to enable enough build-up of sand over time to install an Oceanway. Basically, we need to build up the profile of the beach at Palm Beach so that that dune continues to advance eastward, so to speak, enough so that we can put a reasonable boardwalk through that dunal system. It would still need to be a boardwalk. It would not be resilient because that's where the seawall's still a long way back. But it's certainly what we have noticed is that the first artificial reef that we installed at Palm Beach did a fantastic job in protecting Palm Beach in this last storm event, and in fact, Palm Beach was one of the worst affected parts of the city in the previous event, which was in 2013, Tropical Cyclone Oswald, I think it was. So we know this work can work, and we do know that we have further work to be done in a coastal management space to enhance Palm Beach. So it's also part of our planning. Transport and main roads are currently progressing the planning for an Oceanway to cross the Crumman Creek. The new Green Bridge will provide a wider, less steep path across Crumman Creek with connections to Jurrigan Street and Crumman Creek foreshore areas, resulting in a safer, more accessible facility for pedestrians and cyclists with opportunities for shaded viewing areas and rest areas. The Crumman North section runs along the southern side of Crumman Creek, connecting the Crumman Alley car park to Winders Park in the west, and it will also connect to the future bridge coming over from Palm Beach. The current preferred configuration consists of a 900-metre boardwalk and a separated active transport facility along Jurrigan Street. This Oceanway will significantly improve pedestrian and cyclist safety, particularly through Jurrigan Street. Our project planning will also consider the integration of this project with a seawall renewal project within the Crumman Alley, and also an open space improvement project, an LGIP project for Winders Park. The Oceanway Completion Strategy seeks to fully complete the Oceanway within the next 10 years. As part of the 25-26 financial year budget process, we are seeking funding to deliver the Hollandale Park section, the Mermaid Beach North section, which also includes all of the road corridor enhancements for Hedges Avenue and Albatross Avenue, and the Currumbin North section, that connects Winders Park to the Currumbin Alley. We are aiming to have these sections completed within the next 3 to 4 years. For the sections that will require a boardwalk solution, which includes Main Beach, Mermaid Beach Central and South, and the majority of Palm Beach, we are only seeking funding in the 25-26 financial year budget to deliver the planning work required to get these projects up to a Gate 2 project maturity, so that we can have a clear understanding of the project risks, costs, construction methodology and design. For future budget allocations will be sought once we reach that level of maturity to deliver on these sections once the project cost estimate is known. If all goes to plan, we'll have the majority of the Oceanway delivered in time for the Brisbane 2032 Olympic Games. The only sections we don't believe are feasible by then will be the Palm Beach Central section and the North Burleigh Headland. Councillors, the city vision talks about lifestyle, connectivity, livability and a thriving economy. There are few assets or initiatives in the city that can significantly deliver on each of those elements. This council, over the years, has always supported the idea of a fully completed Oceanway, and supporting this strategy today puts that idea into action. Any questions?
So it is a confidential item. I suppose what we can do is, if we're talking budgets, we've got to be careful. We may have to go into close. What we might do is take a couple of questions, and then if we feel we have to go in close, we'll depend on the questions. So I'll start off with you, Councillor Tozer.
Thanks. Through you to Ross, if it's okay. There was a picture you showed us of maybe the Hedges Avenue or northern Mermaid area that had a large kind of section of grass. and it looked like it was between the property boundary and where the kind of maybe where the dunes start. That's it there. Yeah. Do we maintain that? We mow that, or do they mow it?
It's through the chair. Good question. It's currently road reserve, but majority of the it's actually fenced off. We can't actually get our mowers up into it, so it's maintained by the property owners.
So it's technically our road reserve, but the property owners maintain it as part of their body corporate agreement. Or
Well,
whatever.
they just
Okay.
Some of them. There's only a few sections that look like that. Some of them it's journal areas. Yeah, looks like.
Okay.
Yep.
And question number 2, if that's okay.
Yeah. Yep.
So in relation to that, it occurs to me that if it's already road reserve, there's not too many environmental approvals that will even be necessary if it's road reserve. But can you help us just, in open, just understand some of that environmental approval approach in places like this and maybe places like the dunes and maybe not the places where there's that real legal issue?
Through the chair, we just think it's prudent and good practice to do it or seek environmental approvals through each of these areas. We are dealing in the coastal zone.
So when you say that, you mean referral to the EPBC under the EPBC Act?
Correct. Well, through the State Assessment Referral Agency. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So in places like this, we'll be doing that for every.
We would do it. We have done it for every single project that occurs in the coastal zone. Anyway.
Okay.
Yep.
Great.
Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, through your chair. So with particularly the Palm Beach areas, we're talking about building east of the A-line, is that correct?
Through the chair, thank you, Councillor Patterson. The majority of these areas where we're considering a boardwalk, well, they're all in front of the A-line. Yes.
So my understanding is state code and our planning laws require a setback west of minimum 8.1 metres from the A-line for any infrastructure?
Through the chair, that's relating to the seawall, yes. So that's relating to the construction of the seawall, where it's a quasi easement where you're not meant to build sort of west of the seawall, yes.
So our own code and the state code says that we shouldn't do this. Is that right?
Through the chair, no, that's not correct, because we control those areas. This is for private properties. So it's so that we can maintain, or the private owners can maintain the seawall in front of their property. So say if they've got an issue with the seawall in front of their property, that element of that code, means that they can access other people's property to do work on their seawall.
Okay.
That's what that's for.
So through you, Chair, my understanding, the state code that was not regarding private properties, that was regarding protection against erosion and protection of the environment. Is that not the reason for the state code of that setback from the A-line?
Through the chair, I'd have to take that on notice as to whether it's for that matter or not. Yep.
Okay. That's it for the moment. Thank you.
Councillor Gates.
Thank you. As I mentioned before this discussion, I had a briefing from the consultant employed on this one, and he did mention to me the loggerhead turtle, and I wondered whether that will form part of the EPBC referral as well.
Yeah, through the chair, that's exactly why we're going down that path. Yep.
Thank you. I also wonder, and I don't know if you can answer this in open, but with regard to the proposal to do both the Oceanway and improvements to Hedges and Albatross, why would we do both? Because if we build the Oceanway, that would, in my understanding, take the conflicts off Hedges and Albatross. Why, or otherwise, why wouldn't we just do the Hedges and Albatross work? That's the first part of my question. The second part of my question is the undergrounding of power at that location. Have there been conversations with the state government about potentially funding that work? Should we agree to proceeding with both the Oceanway and improvements to those roads?
Through the chair, good. That's a great question. So the first part of the question is, why would we do on-road enhancements to Albatross and Hedges if we're going to have an Oceanway at the front? You've got to remember that there's a lot of people gain access and still use Hedges Avenue. It is an extremely constrained sort of facility and road reserve as it is. A lot of the works that we're quoting there in terms of road pavement work and all that stuff, it's actually a renewal project as much as it is an upgrade to the sort of active travel facility as well. We think that it's important to both, the longevity and that precinct in general, that the on-road solution is enhanced at the same time. Yeah.
So have we had conversations about the undergrounding of
yes,
power?
sorry, I forgot
That's
that
okay.
part. I forgot that part. So that's an option. When we've done some design, when TMR has done some options analysis on, and we've partnered with them, one of the things they've contemplated is augmenting the utility network because along that section you've basically got power poles right in the middle of a footpath. So that's one of the options that we'll explore, but certainly we would only ever do that if funding was appropriate and if the budget allowed.
Okay, because it will be very costly, I'm sure, to
yes.
underground the power, and I don't know that council. So I mean, it's included in the recommendation today, which is my concern because. I would hope that we're not committing to something that we've got no idea about in terms of cost. And that also relates to whether it's a boardwalk with piers construction. Do we have any idea how much more costly it would be to provide that sort of outcome as opposed to the existing Oceanway construction?
Through the chair, there's a deliberate reason we've put possible on that cross section that's on the on the screen there. That cross section needs to be worked through. Cost benefit of actually doing things like undergrounding the power, we need to work through all of these things as the design matures. We'll come up with a final position on. If we had unlimited funds, it'd be amazing to do that, but we don't have unlimited funds. It's something we need to work through and make sure it's the best use of council money to do so. And whatever funding's available too.
See, this recommendation actually suggests that we provide the funding for the full completion as part of the 25-26 budget process, including reconfiguring Hedges Avenue and Albatross, but we don't have the costings. Will those costings be clear for our budget discussions? Because I have a difficulty putting my hand up when we have no idea of what the cost is, given all the other cost escalations
Councillor Gates, we might just go into close, if that's okay, because it's a closed item. So
Before we do, can I just make a declaration? So I just wanted to put it on record that I have a record with the City Lobbyist Register. It's up there, it's public, of engaging with the advocates or the supporters for no Oceanway. So my understanding is we don't actually have to do a declaration of conflict. No, I just want to mention that. Thanks.
So we've been dealing with 7.1 Oceanway and we've had some budgetary discussions, but we do have a couple more questions that we would like to ask in open. So Councillor Marshall.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, and thanks to the team for presenting in open so that I guess constituents of mine are well aware of what's been discussed. I guess my question, but Ross, is mainly just with regard to the northern end of Mermaid Beach, where we are talking about road reserve and converting the road reserve as opposed to a sacrificial structure. The timelines have us still taking a number of years, and I'll have to obviously explain that to constituents. So would you be able to just sort of talk to us as to why it takes that long?
Through the chair, thank you very much. Look, I think that time frame is realistic for a number of reasons. We mentioned already about the environmental and statutory approval process. That's, we're building in a coastal zone. We're referring it to the federal government for that. That gaining approval through that process takes time. We also must investigate the status of all the existing seawalls through that section, and we're required to deliver on those missing seawalls, and getting and doing that, to ensure that that Oceanway that goes in is resilient and non-sacrificial. So that's a more complicated design and planning process as opposed to just boxing out and putting a pathway in. But I guess the third point and the most important point is we want to make sure we work closely with the community through planning and design phases to ensure we meet the expectations of the broader community on the Oceanway users, but also, the affected users that are along that stretch, or the affected residents that are along that stretch. And in order to do that in a meaningful way, that's going to take iteration, and it's going to take a bit of time to do that. And we want to make sure we do that in an honest way. We've found that when we've done that through the Surface South and also the Tugun section, we've worked closely with the community to sort of get, they understand that it's happening. It's all systems go, but we want to work through with them and to get good outcomes regardless. So that's another process, a point in time, I suppose, as to why it takes a bit of time.
Yeah, thanks, Ross, and I'm happy to move it when we're ready to go.
And I think the big thing, this is if the committee and the council endorse, we're actually committing to that part of the project being delivered.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thank you for the city officers for, like I said, putting the presentation in open so that the residents. I want to thank the Chair and the city officers because I've annoyed you for 12 months about this since being elected. This has been my bugbear that I just want, I guess, to get a strategy, like I guess a roadmap to how this could be achieved. So I really appreciate you doing that. For me personally, in 2001, the late Ron Clark actually spoke to a group of us training on Mermaid Beach and said it's the city's desire to have a continuous path, and particularly to take pedestrians off Hedges Avenue, and to take, I guess, runners, walkers, riders away from cars. That's like 24 years ago now, and certainly Hedges got a hell of a lot busier in that 24 years. And so it's really exciting for me personally, and hopefully for everybody in the council, to be a part of a team now that hopefully gets the chance to deliver or make decisions to deliver that continuous 36-kilometre pathway. And in particular in my area, I think it's a big, ticket item for Mermaid. I understand that there will certainly be people that aren't as excited about it as others, but as I think Ross explained, the lead-in and why it's taking so much time to perhaps deliver it is because we want to do everything correctly. We want to take everyone on that journey, and so I really appreciate us doing that and talking about it today.
Does anyone want to speak against the motion? Anyone else want to speak for? Councillor O'Neill.
Thanks, Chair, and I absolutely agree with Councillor Marshall, and it's really great to see Crumba North up there as well, with maybe getting legs in the next couple of years would be fantastic. It's well used, and at the moment it's a little bit dangerous with how narrow the road is around, especially around Crumban Alley. So, and to see it integrated with other projects, with a green bridge, hopefully if the state government see fit, and also the upgrade of Winders Park would be absolutely fabulous. We've already done some consultation on it, and it was very, very positive. So thank you, officers, and I hope that when we get to budget, everything goes swimmingly. Thank you.
Anyone want to speak against? I will speak for. Since my time Surface South has come online, and I know when I was initially elected, I went down to the southern end of the Gold Coast where Councillor Gates had her Oceanway, and there was a lot of support from the community. Sorry, O'Neill, I'd second time I'd done that. And it was a thriving back then, and Surface South has been absolutely amazing. The amount of people that are actually using it, success of it has been extraordinary. We know we have a challenge with scooters and bikes for our city, but it's in any pathway wherever we have a path anyway. So whether it's on the Oceanway or whether it's a path we've got through the city, it's a problem that hopefully will be looked at by state government. And as a city, we've got to continue to look at options in relation to segregating our paths in the longer term as a city. We know that we have to make sure that beach protection is the city's number one priority, because we've just had a major weather event, and with weather changing, there couldn't be other weather events that's happening. So our number one priority is our beaches, to ensure that the protection of our coastline, and obviously for our residents and guests to enjoy. But also, if we can establish and ensure that our coastline, our beaches are protected, we want to make sure that there's a opportunity for people to walk and enjoy that amazing beach that we have. And if you go and walk along the beach, I did a surface to Coolangatta walk recently for mental health, and our beaches absolutely held up well on the southern end. It was a magnificent walk for all residents along the beachfront. So a great program. Hopefully this helps us to, this motion supports links that we can deliver now, but it also looks at ways that we can deliver challenging areas moving forward. So I'm going to put the vote to the floor. All in favour? Against? Carry. Thank you.